Genesis chapter 3, starting in verse 1. Everybody knows this account, but it seems the one that works the best for this. And now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God made. Said unto the woman, Yea, hath God said, Ye shall not eat every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the tree of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, die. And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day that thereof eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and it was pleasant to the eyes, and the tree desired to make one wise. Took the fruit thereof, and did eat, gave also to her husband, which he did eat. Here's the first. I used this same example as the devil being the first false prophet. It's also the first advertiser. To me, I see this as he's advertising this tree. You ever watch billboards? It's all over the place. They make everything look good. But in verse 6, the woman saw that the tree was good for food, pleasant to the eyes. Her eyes got her in trouble. How many times do our eyes make us after does for me? When those advertisers put that thing out there, they do the best they can. At work, we're having a guy take a lot of pictures of a lot of our products so we can put them on the website. He just doesn't take the first thing, set it up there, and take a picture. This guy doctors it up. He makes every shadow go away. He makes it look just the best it can. That's what the devil did to her. That's what she took and looked. So we need to look at what we're looking at. Pray about it. And it goes on, verse 7. And their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. From what I've understood, the fig leaves is a small. I think I'd want a banana tree. Fig leaf. They, in their panic, to try to cover up what they did, they just took fig leaves. In verse 8, and they heard the voice of the Lord walking in the garden in the cool of the day. Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. And the Lord called unto Adam and said unto him, Where art thou? We know that God knew exactly where they were. Why they were where they were, because he had already planned. This was all done in his eyes. But verse 10, and he said, Adam said, and he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked and hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou was naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree there? Wherefore I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat. And the man said, The woman thou givest to me hath given me. He gave me of the tree, and I did eat. Another decision that was made, he blamed her. He didn't take the responsibility upon himself. Yeah, I ate it. I took it from her. I mean, there's a way of saying it without taking blame to her, but he immediately blames her. Decision was made. And the Lord said unto the woman, what is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me, I did eat. So what did she do? Blame somebody else. That's what we do. Blame other people for things done. And it's, it's our eyes that are a problem, something we wanted or whatever. But to me, this is where I think I get the most problems as I see. Go through the Bible. I was going to go to one right after this. His eyes were a problem. There's lots of people in there, but the Lord impressed me actually yesterday of a different one that's in Numbers chapter 12. Numbers 12. Here, Israel came out of Egypt. They're in front of the Mount Sinai. They've had a lot of victory. And starting in verse 1, and Miriam and Aaron spake against Moses because of the Ethiopian woman had married, for he had married an Ethiopian woman. And they said, hath the Lord indeed spoken only by Moses? Hath he not spoken also by us? The Lord heard it. Decisions. Here, these two, Miriam and Aaron, I look at it as they were looking at Moses and saying, who set you in authority over us? But then when you read verse 1, I think it's kind of neat. It says it twice. He married an Ethiopian woman. He said it twice. Because he wanted. But I think one thing I look at is I see this as God knew where he was in the wilderness. God gave him the. God called him after married to this one. So I think God was okay with it. For me, that's what I see. But yet they didn't like the idea. But I don't think that was the whole idea. Because they were looking at his authority, where he was. They wanted power. So in their decision, plain that they weren't getting all the power or everybody looking at him or at them. They were looking at Moses. I think sometimes we all do that. It's mindset that we also with the company or where we're working. I've had to be around some of the decisions bosses had to make and that had to take. I was glad I was sitting in the other chair as a witness or a help, but not having to fire somebody or let somebody go. They have to make the hard decision. But we'll continue on here in verse 3. Now, the man Moses was a very meek above all men which were upon the face of the earth. So he was the meekness. And as soon, verse 2, last little bit after they had asked the question, and the Lord heard it. Important. And in verse 4, and the Lord spake suddenly unto Moses and Aaron and to Miriam, come out free unto the tabernacle of the congregation, and the three came out. So now they're at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud and spoke in the door of the tabernacle and called Aaron and Miriam, and they both came forth. when I read this, as I read this, I see God coming down. Feel like I've been there. As my parents have called me because I've messed up, or you had to go into the office at work or whatever. You know you've messed up. And I know sometimes at work when boss has called and said, "Hey, I need to see you in my office." So you're going through the last week of what you did. Did I do everything I was told? You automatically go to the worst. But here, Aaron and Myron both knew what was going on. God heard it, said something very quickly, and he came down. Important that cloud come up. It was above the tabernacle. It's now inside the tabernacle. God's inside. And he said, verse 6, and he said, "Hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will myself know." I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak to him in a dream. My servant Moses is not so, whom is faithful in all my house. With him will I speak, mouth to mouth, every appearance, and not in dark speeches, and the substitute of the Lord shall he held. Behold, wherefore, when were ye not afraid to speak against my servant Moses? Here, God says, I call Moses. And I like what he says to him. I will speak. With him will I speak mouth to mouth. I think there's other places where he says, I will speak to Moses as a friend. He's very close. He said, don't worry about it. I'm speaking to Moses. He's in control. And why are you speaking against my servant Moses? It's kind of funny. You think about where Aaron is today here standing before God, talking to him pretty strong. Aaron, who made the golden calf? It's Aaron. I've often wondered that God went ahead, even though he had seen the calf for the people, that he was still kept as, but yet God did take sons. And God told Moses to tell Aaron, don't weep over them. So Aaron had some punishment already, but then here he is again. I feel like me. I'm always in some kind of trouble. I feel like I'm always doing something wrong. In verse 9, and the anger of the Lord was kindled against them. He departed. And the cloud departed off of the tabernacle. I want to stop right there. I think this really neat. And the anger of the Lord was kindled. It was starting. Fire had started to burn against them, and he departed. And I think this is a decision. God was getting very angry. Left. How many of us, when we get angry, we just need to walk away? Because there's accounts where God had got angry in the temple, and all at once there was a fire come out of the temple, and he killed people. And right here, God says, he just left. And whenever God got mad at when they built the calf, and Moses came down and he broke the tablets, and they moved the tabernacle of the congregation out of the camp. God says, "Get me out of here. I can't be in the middle of this mess. I'll kill him." But here God left, departed. In verse 10, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle. beheld, Miriam became leper, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam and beheld she was a leopard. That had to be very shocking to turn around and your sister there is white. Just white. She's a leopard. She's fully leopard. And I know they knew what they had done wrong already when they knew it. I think as soon as God called them to come to the tabernacle, I think they knew what they had done and where they were. But our actions, no matter what decisions we make, we're going to pay for it. Whether God forgives you or not, even when God forgives you, ask, He'll forgive you. You still have to pay for it in the physical part. Our spiritual part has been taken care of. But here we'll go on, verse 11. And Aaron said unto Moses, Alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not the sin upon us, wherein we have done foolishly, wherein we have sinned. Let her not be as one dead, of whose flesh is half consumed. When he cometh out of his mother's womb. So Aaron's like, Lord, just pray for her. Help her. He asked forgiveness from Moses himself. And Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, Heal her now, O Lord, O God, I beseech thee. And this is Moses is also praying for his own sister and Aaron. And I think he said, I like what he said. He said, heal her now. Do it right now, not later, right now. How many times do we have prayer just like that? We have something that gets on our mind. We want it done right now. But God's got time and something time. In verse 14, and the Lord said unto Moses, if her father had but spit on her face, should she not be ashamed? 7 days, let her shut out from the camp 7 days, and after that let her be received in again. And Miriam was shut out from the camp 7 days, and the people journeyed not until Miriam was brought in again. And afterward the people removed from Hazeroth and pitched in the wilderness of Paran. So here God says, if he forgave her, forgave both of them, said, okay, she'll be healed, but she's got to be set aside. Got to leave the camp for 7 days. Part of the leprosy, they watched that really close, but you were unclean, so you had to be out of the camp. So her punishment, set aside, put out. And, that would be pretty hard. That was only for 7 days. She was considered unclean, had to be away from her family, never her friends. But yet the whole camp knew about it because they didn't go anywhere. They didn't journey anywhere after the 7 days when she be clean and come in. But we have to watch what decisions we make and how we make them. That we make the right decision the right way. And to me, I think I fail the most at is praying for every prayer request, no matter how big or how small. I've dropped the floor. Well, God doesn't care about a screw, me working, but He does. I prayed, Lord, I've dropped a brown screw on a brown carpet, and how are you going to find a screw like that? Like, Lord, help me find it. I got to have this screw. Reach down and pick it up. We need to pray before we make a decision. Because a lot of times we use our eyes to make decisions. use lust in this case, greed of wanting to be in control, to be looked at, be lifted up ourselves. But hopefully, it's been an encouragement to you. I've got some more I want to go over. I want to, next Sunday, I've got another one I want to go over that just wanted to be in power. It just impressed me. I think that's maybe it's just me wanting to be more in power, be looked at. But I want to also look at the people that have done the right decision the right way. There's a bunch of those examples. But we'll be dismissed. Word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and thank you for allowing us to come into your house to worship you.